Hi, I'm Jessica Rose from the London Jewellery School and I'm going to show you how to make clay beads. So to make your clay beads, I've got some pre-conditioned Fimo or polymer clay and a tissue blade and a head pin, which I'm going to use to make my hole in my beads. So to start off with, I'm going to cut a square out of my pearl coloured clay, and I'm going to place the pearl colour on top of the blue, pushing outwards to make sure there's no air bubbles trapped in there. And just cut the edges down. And then I want to cut 3 or 4 equal strips. And I'm going to place these on top of each other. And just gently squeeze them together to make sure there's no air bubbles or air stuck in there. And I'm going to cut my strips in half. And you can see the lovely stacked effect that you get. I'm going to place those on top of each other and cut a fairly thick strip for my first bead. And just make sure you cut down any rugged bits on the edges. And I'm going to do a few matching beads here. And now I need to put a hole through my beads, so I'm going to use a piece of wire or a head pin, and just make sure you go through right the middle, all the way down and out the other end. Now sometimes when you're making a hole in your beads it does distort them. Don't worry too much, you can adjust them afterwards. So I've put my beads onto a baking tray, and this is just literally a piece of paper that's folded in a concertina shape so that the beads are separated out and they're not going to stick to the tray and they're not going to stick to each other. And I'm going to put them in the oven, and it's going to be at 110 degrees, and I want them in there for 30 minutes. But it's a good idea to keep an eye on it just to make sure that they're not over baking or burning. And to make sure that I've got the right temperature, I'm also going to put in a thermostat in there with them, which I can keep an eye on. So just pop them into the toaster oven. Now if you're doing this at home and you don't have a toaster oven, you can just use your regular oven, that's fine. But if you're doing it a lot, you know, if you're baking beads all the time, then it's a good idea to have a separate toaster oven for it. And just close that up. And it should be ready in 30 minutes. So once it's been 30 minutes, you can open the oven and get your beads out. Just use a towel or some oven gloves to make sure you don't burn yourself. And you want to leave your beads to cool for a little while before you start using them. So you're just going to leave them on the side to cool for about 20 minutes until they cool down. If you touch your beads at this stage, they'll still be a little bit soft because of how hot they are, but when they cool down, they'll go solid. And that's how to make clay beads.